Hello, it's great to be back for another season of HappyPorch Radio. This season we are focusing on the circular economy, and in particular the role of software and digital. And this episode is an introduction. We get to meet my wonderful co-host Emily, and we talk about what the circular economy is and why it's our focus for this season. As always, you can find the show notes, links and much more at HappyPorchRadio.com. So, as seems to be becoming my catchphrase for these introductions, without any further ado, let's meet Emily.
Hi Barry, thanks for having me. It's lovely to be here. I'm excited to start season 5.
Yeah, it should be really fun. So let's just set the scene a little bit. So why are you doing this? Why are you here? Why circular economy? Why are you joining me on this adventure?
Well, I love an adventure, so that was the main draw. But I think there's a lot of things that pulled me to do this with you, Barry, and they're kind of from all different places. In terms of circular economy, I have been interested in and worked in and been passionate about environmental issues for a long time. Over the past few years, I've worked in community building around climate action, and I've built my knowledge base a little bit around things like circular economy and sustainability and that broad topic. But at the end of last year, I gave up that job and I started kind of a new career path. And within this new version of my life, I was trying to find ways that I could keep a hold of this sustainability aspect. How could I hold on to this passion because I wasn't working in it anymore? So when this opportunity came up, I just jumped at it because I was like, yes, I want to talk about those things all the time. So if I can talk about them with people who actually are invested and have so much experience and knowledge, and we can have interesting, fun conversations, then that sounds ideal. And I suppose the other side of that is that interesting and fun conversations are also something that I am kind of passionate about, which might seem like a funny thing to say you're passionate about, but my new chapter in life is taking me towards coaching and facilitation. So I'm constantly kind of thinking about how we can have productive conversations and efficient conversations and deep and meaningful conversations. And so this podcast, I'm also a huge fan of podcasts in general, is an opportunity to do that on a topic that is close to my heart.
Very cool. And so we're doing this short introduction episode partly to introduce ourselves and also to introduce the whole concept of why this season or what we're trying to do with this season. And so first of all, just to kind of quickly define some things. So the circular economy, because it's such a broad and I think quite exciting term or sort of bunch of definitions of things that are happening under the circular economy umbrella. So there's that. But the focus of this season and the focus obviously for HappyPorch Radio generally is, I guess, digital and software and design and agency world and how we as a sector, as an industry, can be progressive and positive and more than just passively, I want to use a term like part of the solution rather than part of the problem in this broad, particularly in this season with the environmental focus. So I wanted to talk about those things just really quickly. But to start, I wonder, for those listening who aren't familiar with the circular economy as a concept, what would be your 2-sentence definition of what the circular economy is?
2 sentences. They might be long sentences. Well, the circular economy for me is an economic system, a global economic system in which we care about what comes out of our production system as well as what goes into it. That's really broad and brief. But I think that is, for me, a lot of the underlying essence of the circular economy is about what goes into what we need and what comes out of what we use. And the circular bit is about how much care and attention we put onto those things.
I think that's really interesting because I didn't want to jump into just a technical definition because to me, I think what you've described there is kind of motivation, it's purpose. And from that comes all this wonderful stuff. And the really cool thing about all of this for me is that it ties together the values and the purpose of genuinely wanting to, particularly in an environmental sense, reduce some of the horrible disastrous pains that we as a species and as a planet are facing. But to do more than just reduce that, to have positive impact, and to do that in a way that also aligns with the modern world, the modern human world, like so basically the economic system. So to sort of talk about the circular economy in the way that the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and others often describe, you start by saying, well, the current economic system is very linear. You dig something up, you take it, you make stuff out of that in multiple complex ways, you use that thing, and then you throw it away. And there's a very sort of linear, very kind of take, make, waste approach to it. So the circular economy, I think the thing that really stands out for me is about keeping value within that chain. So if you're going to all the effort, digging something up from the ground or growing it or making it, and then going through multiple complex supply chains and companies and businesses to make a thing, at that point, that early in the stage, there's value, environmental, energy, physical and monetary value in those things. So what do we do then? Do we just use it once and throw it away and start again at the top of the chain? Or do we try and keep that value there? And I think that's why I'm so interested in that broad definition and the purpose, because value there covers so many different things.
Yeah.
All the way from financial value all the way up.
Yeah. You're right about keeping the value, but a lot of the time, the value is there whether we see it or not. And it's kind of about recognizing the value or just reframing the way we're looking at this waste, in inverted commas, so that we do recognize its value and understand how to use it in a more efficient way or in a continuous way. I mean, one person's waste is another person's treasure. So I think that's kind of the essence of a lot of the circular economy mindset. There's that saying that we don't inherit the earth from our grandparents, we borrow it from our children. And I think that that kind of encapsulates the idea that if we felt like the resources that we have at our fingertips were precious enough, and, you know, if we really thought about the idea that our children are going to rely on these things, then we would think twice about all the single use and all the irresponsible use that we currently have in our economic practice. So, yeah, I think mindset is kind of the anchor of everything about the circular economy, really.
Yeah, and that touches on everything all the way through the process. Like you say, there's the value there, whether you like it or not. As a business, or as businesses, or as an economy, several of the people we're speaking to in this season use this kind of terminology and this thinking, but what they talk about is there's all this value leaking out all the way through the supply chain, all the way through the economy. The simplest way to view that is financial value. You know, if I make something and then sell it once, well, that's the end of that. But there's so much more opportunity and exciting things from a business sense that could happen all the way through to that. But then there's also the value, including the waste part, where we're throwing away things that don't, you know, the plastic bags last for hundreds of thousands of years. But that's just the simplest, most clear example. We talk about everything that we do, from the ships that are taking things around the planet to the things on the ship. It just touches on so many different things. And this, I think, is what I like about the whole conversation, is that it's a positive opportunity driven thing rather than a fight against something. What we're saying is there's opportunity here, opportunity for
a lot
social,
of creativity.
Yeah.
There's been so much creativity and people using their imaginations to come up with kind of solutions that I couldn't have thought of in a million years. So I think that's really cool. It feels exciting.
Exactly. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation defined the circular economy, or they say it's based on the principles of designing out waste and pollution, keeping products and materials in use, and regenerating natural systems. So all of that is phrased in a very positive way, that you can see how those things will bring direct environmental and global benefits. But then there's also so much in addition to that all the way through the whole process. Yeah,
I like that positive spin, because the reason that we're doing this, really, the crux of it, is that we're in a time where we know so clearly the detrimental environmental effects of almost everything we do as a species, from just simply feeding ourselves to moving around to communicating with each other. Everything we do has some environmental impact. And most of the things we do have a huge environmental impact, if only because of the scale of the species. We've taken over this planet and then some. And all of that, it can be overwhelming and terrifying. And there's such a thing as climate anxiety, and it's real, and I understand it entirely. But what circular economy is kind of about, and I think what this season is about, is there's hope. It's not just that we're killing the world and that's it. We just have to accept that. There's a lot of people out there doing really interesting and amazing and inspirational things who actually try and help fix this problem. They're all doing the best they can, and not just for their own kind of personal or professional gain, but for actually this bigger picture, and however they fit into that bigger picture as maybe a tiny piece, or maybe connecting piece, or maybe creating a platform for other people to become a connecting piece. That's what we're kind of diving into in this. And I think that's what really makes it important.
That's exactly it. And the specific angle or approach that we're trying to do in that conversation is to talk about the digital and the software and the design and the online, where all of those things fit in this circular economy conversation, in this transition to some exciting future opportunities. As somebody, myself, our agency does custom online software and apps, and that in itself can often feel disconnected if you work in design or digital or software technology. And so part of this conversation, one of the goals for this season, is to try and join the dots there and demonstrate or show all these amazing things, and how, surprisingly, software and digital is part of making that happen. It's either enabling it, as in it's not possible without those kind of tools, or it's making it vastly more efficient or cheaper or whatever. So it's all the things that you see as, software's eating the world, that kind of stuff, the impact of that, but in a way that I think is just inspiring rather than just churning through. It's kind of why HappyPorch, the business, exists, and why the podcast exists. It's because there should be much more value in doing that work than just itself, and to feel like we're actually contributing to be part of a solution rather than just going through the motions and therefore contributing to the problem.
Yeah, and I think that what is cool about these two elements being brought together in this season, the element of circular economy and of the software and digital technologies, is how universal they both are, but not necessarily universally connected in everyone's minds. So circular economy, as we mentioned, is kind of a global thing, addressing a global issue, and can and probably will affect everyone. And if you're listening to this podcast right now, you are engaging with or utilizing or aware of software and digital technologies, probably a lot of software and digital technologies. And so, yeah, bringing those two things together is a really cool idea. So if I can ask you a question, Barry, what is it that you hope for in this season as we explore the link between these two things and we get to the end of the season? What is it that you hope that we'll have achieved?
Well, I keep coming back to the opportunity side of things. It feels like there is an opportunity for those of us who work in the digital, who run businesses or work in agencies or businesses, who do design, who do technology, who do all of the things that are needed to make digital software and digital tools work, to be impactful, to be more than just agency. To have agency is to have impact, to be out there. So rather than just kind of going through the motions, like I said before, or basically what I would like to do is spark a little bit or raise the profile of that conversation within my little corner of this industry. And I hope those listening are kind of interested or intrigued enough to try and think about how we as a sector, as a profession, as a series of professions, as a whole industry, can be getting involved in these solutions in the physical world in a way that's much more than just, like I said, passively going through the motions, making sure we tick the boxes and therefore not contribute to the problem. The thing I keep coming back to is that last point of the Ellen MacArthur definition, like regenerating natural systems. I think that, to me, encapsulates a lot of the, it's more than just doing your recycling. It's more than just, if you're an individual, it's more than just going and doing your shopping and thinking about where you buy stuff. It's more than just giving some money to causes. It's more than just, retweeting or signing a petition or whatever. The real power is in where we spend a huge amount of our time in our businesses, is to work out how we can contribute in every way to this broad circular economy and related concepts. I think that works in every sector. So it's really easy and clear to talk. This is one of the great things about this season, is we're talking to people who are involved in supply chain management. So that's tracking software, handling data, and all of the things that come with that. Then we're talking to other people who maybe run consumer platforms. So that's apps and design and UX and service design and content and all of these things that we is all the way through the digital sector that we really know and understand. And then there's really hardcore things that are hidden deeper in manufacturing, for example, AI to improve efficiencies or to reduce materials, or educational stuff that's talking to designers about how and providing them with the information and the data about what materials and how they're reused. And I feel like I'm just beginning to scratch the surface of this never-ending list. Business models, things that allow you to create whole new businesses. And so as a sector, we've got this sort of latent power or latent responsibility. And so I want to be part of that conversation, and I want to speak to other people who I admire and are doing that already, and use their stories to inspire myself and others, I hope, and just to be involved in a conversation to try and have that level of positive impact.
Nice. That's a great aim. There's a lot of things we've got to do over the course of the season. I feel like we're going to be busy.
Yeah. That's the aspirational goal. Maybe I should assume that more than 2 people are listening.
Hello to our 2 listeners.
That's right.
I think you've covered a lot, but that kind of broad spectrum that we want to showcase in this season, I think even though we're kind of going broad and a lot of the conversations are diving deeper into certain things, you're right when you say we're only really scratching the surface of so much of this. So I think if I could add another thing to our list of aims, it would be that we kind of inspire the listeners to find out more, go and learn more about this, and to learn more about other businesses that are doing similar things, and maybe even inspired by some of the questions we asked when we're having these conversations, just to dive a bit deeper so that they can find out about the circular economy solutions that are happening near them or in the industry they're interested in or that they work in, and maybe how they themselves can get involved or how they could change things up in their workplace or their surroundings and have a positive impact.
Yeah, and as a final kind of, call out for everybody listening, to please raise those questions with us as well. We'd love to hear feedback on these conversations. I'm especially interested in those tough questions that I hope we can address in some ways during this season, ranging from privacy concerns through to practical concerns, through to how do we make this real, where does it work and where does it not. Really interested in technical and challenging questions, really interested in feedback on the podcast, and really looking forward to this adventure, Emily.
Yeah, let's do it.
Without any further ado.
You can find notes and links from this episode, plus a full transcript at HappyPorchRadio.com. If you are enjoying the show, please take a moment to give us a positive review on your favourite podcast app. Thanks for listening to Happy Porch Radio.